Buying crash damaged cars is a hot topic right now. We've all been there scrolling eBay, Copart, seeing a Porsche, Audi or BMW with a damaged bumper and a price tag that looks too good to be true.
There are numerous channels out there that drag a crashed car into a workshop, strip the thing apart, rebuild it, a lot of the time to a pretty high standard, and suddenly they have a perfectly good car while saving tens of thousands of pounds. It makes it incredibly easy to believe the pros outweigh the cons.
So while we give my Audi the overdue service it's been screaming for since we sent it around a racetrack, we're going to go through the numbers and see how much this thing actually cost.
Did I get myself an absolute bargain, or should I have just bought a straight, running car and saved myself the headache? So, whilst I put the car up onto axle stands, let me explain how all these cars end up on our favourite auction sites. Once some unlucky person damages their pride and joy, the insurance company will take a look and decide if it's cost effective to repair. When they look at the damaged vehicle, they don't price used parts on eBay or figure out if any parts can be repaired. These parts are always brand new, usually from the dealer, and come with a hefty price tag. Couple that with the extortionate costs for things like hire cars whilst your car's off the road, and it all adds up to an eye-watering figure. If the cost of repairs exceeds a certain percentage of the car's value, it's instantly written off. They send the money to the owner, category mark the car, and ship it off to the auctions to recoup whatever money they can.
And that's where we get a chance. I did some maths and thought, I won't charge myself for labour, I can get second-hand parts, I can do this for way cheaper. And while that's all good in theory, it requires a massive amount of luck.
So whilst I was browsing an auction website, I saw this Audi S3 pop up. It had some front end and rear quarter damage, but nothing was structural. No airbags had gone off, it seemed like a really good project. However, the listing said the engine didn't run, which really worried me. If the engine was knackered, then the car wasn't worth anything. But after some words of encouragement from my mate Dom, I went for it.
And after a lot of back and forth, I got it for £9,600. That feels like a really good deal. It is a decent spec, low mileage. A good version of one of these would be going for £22,000, so that's just under half price.
Hold on a second. You may have noticed that blurry object. I may have filmed this with a new car in the background, so if you can guess what it is, drop a comment, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Interestingly, these S3 sumps are plastic, and you can undo them with a screwdriver.
Now, £9,600 for a 2016 low mileage, high spec S3 sounds great. However, that isn't the full story. When you win an auction from a salvage yard, you don't just pay the guy at the desk your winning bid and drive away. First come the auction buyer's fees. They are calculated on a sliding scale. The higher the final bid, the higher the buyer's fee. And for a vehicle of this value, the auction house stuck an extra £660 straight on the bill. Then there's the admin fee, £144, must have been a lot of office work on this one. Then comes the logistics. These salvage yards are almost never just around the corner from your house. They're usually hidden away on an industrial estate halfway across the country. And if you don't pick the car up within 4 business days of winning the auction, the yard starts slapping you with storage fees. Because I have a job, I couldn't just drop everything to drive the truck across the country. I had to hire a transport company, and that came to another £300.
So doing some quick maths, just to get the car on my driveway, even before buying any bolts, panels or turning the key, I was already in for £10,704.
Which is a big chunk of money, especially when the engine didn't run. Luckily I managed to fix that without spending anything. You can see all that in the previous videos. If only it was all that cheap to fix, because when I show you the quote for parts that I got from Audi in a bit, you can see why the insurance wrote this car off. But fortunately there's plenty of spare parts available for these cars. Seems like they're a pretty popular car to crash. So I bought second hand where I could. This auxiliary radiator, which provides cooling to the engine and sits right where the impact happened, was almost £300 from Audi. I managed to pick one up for £150. The wiring loom in the front bumper that connects the parking and crash sensors would have been £250, but I managed to repair it with £20 worth of parts from Amazon. Unfortunately, there were some things I just couldn't find second hand, like the front crash sensor, which is basically a piece of rubber hose with plastic sensors either side. Ended up costing me £110 for a new one. Whilst all these numbers aren't massive in their own right, these small costs started to add up really quickly.
With all that fixed, it was time for the bodywork. A new wing was £235, headlight £600, and I opted for an RS3 replica bumper, which was £900. The real headache though was the steering rack.
And this is the problem with buying cars from an auction site. It's very rare that you'll be allowed to go and take a look at them in person. Usually all you have is the pictures on the listing to go off, and no matter how many car checks you do on it, it's never going to show you any hidden damage that it has. The auction companies make it explicitly clear when buying these cars they're sold as seen, and it's the buyer's risk if anything else is wrong with it. Another thing you won't know is the service history, so getting these spark plugs and filters changed is always a good idea. Because I couldn't view the car in person, I had no idea there was problems with the steering. This is the risk you take when buying these cars. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't too bad. Apart from a lot of time figuring out what was wrong, it ended up costing me £160 in second-hand parts. Now we just need to remove the 1 million screws holding this airbox together, change the air filter, and then we can go and see how much this thing actually cost me to rebuild. I'll be honest, this was actually looking pretty clean, but it was only 10 quid, so there's no harm in changing it. So how much would all that cost from Audi? The parts alone were £9,500. You can see why the thing was written off. In comparison, by buying second-hand parts and fixing the things that I could, I spent a total of £2,777.51. Not bad, but that's not everything. We still need to get the new parts painted, and there was some work to do on the rear quarter. I feel like paint usually gets brushed over in these videos. A lot of the time the cars end up getting wrapped instead, and I can see why. Body shops are well expensive. Through a friend of a friend, I managed to get a pretty good deal, I think. £1,000 for the damaged rear quarter to be pulled out, and pretty much half the car repainted. This needed to be done to blend the new paint into the old, otherwise you'd end up with a different shade of blue across every panel. Now for those of you who are good at maths, you'll have worked out that I'm into this car for a total of £14,181.51. That includes bodywork, paint and parts, minus the shiny bits and wheels because I didn't really need to buy them, but they look good, so you know. Perfect example of these cars are going for around £22,000, which means I've saved myself a massive £8,000. Sounds like I've got myself an absolute bargain, but unfortunately there's a catch. See, there's a bit of stigma against these cars. No matter how good the repair that's been done, once the insurance has written it off, it's permanently have a mark against it. You'll see it on the logbook and it'll come up on any vehicle check that you do. This one is a category N, meaning non-structural damage. It'll always carry that history, and because of that, it's going to be worth around 25% less than the equivalent car on the market. So if our perfect example is going for around £22,000, then if I was to sell mine, I would probably only get about £16,000 for it. But hey, that's still about £1,800 profit. So is it really worth it? I'll leave that decision up to you. Buying one of these cars can be risky. You're going in blind. The car could be full of hidden problems that'll eat through your budget really quickly. But I didn't do it for that. I just love cars, ever since I saw that orange 10-second Supra pop up on the TV as a kid.
What's the retail on one of those?
And I also love problem solving and fixing things. So this just made sense to me. It was actually incredibly therapeutic just sitting on my driveway trying to figure out how to fix this thing. Anyone can go and buy a car from a dealership, but for me there's a huge sense of satisfaction from driving a car that you know you fixed yourself. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. Life is short. Go and do what makes you happy.
I know we got